In Polymarket's updated 2024 election prediction, Trump is demolishing Harris. Trump has a 55.4% chance of winning with 25 days yet to go. Over the previous 2 days, he has flipped several important states. In this video, we will examine the 2024 election map based on Polymarket's fresh estimates. Starting on the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, and California are all solid blue. Kamala Harris stands at least 95% certain to win these 3 states. Nevada will be far more competitive, though Joe Biden prevailed in the state by more than 2 points in 2020. Now, the markets indicate an almost tie. Harris stands at a 52% likelihood of winning, Trump at 49%. Actually, Kamala Harris has just a 3-point advantage, and this is the only state on the map where she is currently favored. The silver state will thus be tipped blue depending on the betting markets, but in the end, it might truly go either way. Trump next has a 2 to 3 chance of winning in Arizona. It's not even near anymore as the state went to Joe Biden in the past election. Kamala Harris's performance in Arizona has been appalling, and she scored 0.3 during the Democratic convention. Democrats went to all the effort to replace the nominee at the top of their ticket. Hence, right now, they are performing exactly as poorly as they did prior to Joe Biden withdrawing. Donald Trump is on schedule to handily win Arizona this time around, and has recreated the lead he was in before Harris became the nominee. The polls show he leads by 0.9%. As we all know, Trump is never ahead in the polls. Hence, Arizona will show lean red on our map. Turning now to Colorado and New Mexico, Colorado will be pure blue, with Kamala Harris having a 97% probability to prevail. In New Mexico, she has a 91% chance. The race came really close. Republicans were allegedly turning the state before Joe Biden withdrew. But now that Kamala Harris is the nominee, Democrats find themselves in a better position. Hence, Colorado is safe blue, New Mexico is probably blue. The previous president had a 90% chance of winning adjacent Texas. Here, the chances have been somewhat steady across the whole election cycle. Donald Trump is undoubtedly going to win Texas for a 3rd consecutive run on this map. Republican is probably what it is, and not to occupy all these states in the middle of the nation. Trump is easily going to win Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, North and South Dakota, all of Nebraska save its 2nd district, as well as Kansas and Oklahoma. Nebraska's 2nd district most certainly will be blue. Kamala Harris stands with 89% chances of winning. Then in Alaska, Donald Trump stands at 92% likely to win. Hence, Hawaii will be safe blue, while the state is probably red. Now, heading north to the Midwest, Kamala Harris has to win most of the Rust Belt states if she is to have any hope for 270 electoral votes. She will need Minnesota, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania to be president. Just a few weeks ago, her winning all 3 of these contests dominated the betting markets. But that cannot be more from the truth now. Kamala Harris starts in Minnesota and has only a 91% probability of winning. Though this seems high, this is not where she should be. Minnesota is a state that hasn't been red since 1972. Joe Biden came out victorious in 2020 by a significant margin, but Kamala Harris leads in the polling today by only 4%. Even if Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is her running buddy, and therefore given all the benefits she has here, a 91% likelihood is not that high at all. On our map, the state will thus be probably blue. Kamala Harris should thus be concerned about her performance in the state. Trump has formally turned the state looking to the odds in adjacent Wisconsin. Though you do see Trump's number showing on top, it is really 50-50. In Wisconsin, Trump has been ahead for the first time since early August. Looking at the one-day graph, he has been basically ahead all day. Naturally, though, the market fluctuates just a tiny bit every few hours. Right now, however, Trump leads Wisconsin based on survey results. Harris still leads with 0.4%, but we have 8 fresh state surveys. 3 of these exhibited Trump ahead, 3 of them put Harris ahead. The 2 most current polls show a tie, like Michigan yesterday and Pennsylvania around a week ago. Wisconsin's polling average is probably going to flip back over to Trump shortly, and so on our map, Polymarket will mark Wisconsin as tilt red for the first time in over 2 months. For Kamala Harris next in Michigan, things cannot be worse. Among the swing states, this is the most liberal. In 2020, Joe Biden secured it with 2.8%. Out of the remaining 6 battlegrounds, he did not win any by more margin. Examining the polling average, Trump leads as well. He is almost 1% ahead. Almost every newly conducted survey features the former president ahead. Kamala Harris will go down in a modern-day landslide if she loses Michigan, and the betting market suggests that Trump has returned to take center stage. Now, with a 52% chance of winning against Kamala Harris's 49%, he is the favorite, and this is absolutely colossal. Since the end of July, almost 3 months ago, Republicans have led in the betting markets for the Wisconsin state only once. Furthermore, looking at the odds just 3 weeks ago, Kamala Harris had a 68% probability of winning. Her chances of winning Michigan in less than a month were almost 7 in 10. She isn't even the favorite anymore today. For Donald Trump, Michigan will thus also be tilt red on the map, a radical turnaround. Then in Pennsylvania, the final of the 3 blue wall states, it's not even going to be tilted in Trump's advantage. Actually, it's a lean situation, with the former president having a 56% chance of winning. It isn't even close. And the graph's colors are inverted, but that will be corrected really soon. Most likely the most significant state on the map, Keystone State, is clearly Donald Trump's preference. Whoever wins Pennsylvania is most likely going to win the election totally. Furthermore, according to polls, Trump has also taken front stage in the average. In most of all the recent polls, he leads by 0.3%. For background, Hillary Clinton led in Pennsylvania at this point in 2016 by 9.4%. She lost the state totally at last. 2020 saw Joe Biden lead by 7.1%. Ultimately, he carried Pennsylvania by barely 1.2%. Trump is clearly in an astonishingly advantageous position and must win Pennsylvania, which will be a lean Republican on the map. Coming down now to the lower Midwest, Iowa is most likely Republican. Trump has a 93% likelihood of winning, slightly under the 95% level to be definite. The map will probably show it as red. Ohio is also likely for the GOP. Trump stands 92% likely of winning. So once more, well under the 95% mark, Indiana and Illinois will clearly be strong for their respective sides. Indiana solid red, Illinois solid blue. Ascending now to the Northeast, Kamala Harris will be secure in practically every single one of these strong blue states: New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and the District of Columbia. New Hampshire is probably blue, but Kamala Harris has an 87% probability of winning. Her chances then in Maine stand at 88%. For the Democrats, New Hampshire and Maine will therefore be probably favorable. Maine's first district will be solid blue. The second district is most likely to be red. We will now descend to the South, where Trump will rule supremely. He will readily win Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, and South Carolina. Remotely competitive only are Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. We shall start in Virginia, where the vice president stands with an 89% chance of victory. When Joe Biden dropped the lead in the polls against Donald Trump in July, the state really got really close at a point. Virginia has thus been somewhat competitive in the past. But in 2020, Joe Biden did perform rather nicely. His margin of victory in the state was double-digit. Kamala Harris, at most, will win Virginia by half that percentage. Yet in terms of her chances of winning the state totally, the margin doesn't really matter. She may only win the state by a 0.1%. Indeed, her chances are still really good. The state will thus be probably blue in favor of the vice president. The Tar Heel state of North Carolina comes next and is likewise headed toward Trump. The previous president is at 62% likely of winning. Mark Robinson and his controversy explain why Trump's popularity has dropped significantly over the past month. North Carolina has traditionally supported the Republicans. Democrats have never had an advantage here. Robinson is, of course, the gubernatorial candidate, and he is most certainly not going to assist the former president here. But ultimately, Trump is still quite likely to win. Today, he leads by 0.6% in the polls. He won North Carolina in both 2016 and 2020. It is the only swing state he has won in each of the last 2 elections. Actually, he leads in every 7 of the most recent polls that have been conducted. North Carolina will thus be leaning Republican, hence it is certain that the state will be loyal to Trump come November. Then in Georgia, another state where Trump has long been ahead. He stands 64% likely to win today. Since Harris peaked back in August, his odds have been gradually increasing. This is essentially during the Democratic convention. Trump's numbers have been progressively rising. Today, he stands at 64% chance of winning based on polls. He is also the heavy favorite. Out of the last 7 state polls taken, Kamala Harris leads nowhere. Trump is leading by 0.8%. Looking at the graph, Harris held the edge for a quite brief amount of time prior to Trump reversing it. Furthermore, Trump will definitely turn Georgia red during this campaign. In 2020, he actually lost the state to Joe Biden. On the whole map, it was the nearest state, but it will not be that near now. With 2 to 4 points in less than a month, Trump can readily win Georgia. Georgia will thus be lean Republican, just as North Carolina is also. And last, as everyone knows, Florida is no longer competitive. Donald Trump stands with a 90% chance of triumph. Imagine, though, if someone told you this is what we would be witnessing 4 years from now. In the days before the 2020 contest, all had Biden as the overwhelming favorite, since in 2020, the surveys showed Biden winning the betting markets. But Republicans have changed Florida over only the previous 4 years. Today, it is a Republican trail. Once more, the colors on this graph are inverted. Still, the GOP does have a 90% probability of keeping Florida, a state Trump won in each of the past 2 elections, by 1.2% against Clinton in 2016 and by 3.4%. This year, it is most certainly a Republican state. Therefore, this is the 2024 electoral map based on Polymarket's revised estimate of Donald Trump at 306 electoral votes, Kamala Harris at just 232. During the past few months, indeed, Harris has shown really good performance at times, but we all knew from the start that her momentum would run somewhat rapidly, and that is what I have been stating all through. Additionally, today, Michigan and Wisconsin have turned around to support Trump. He is definitely the clear favorite. Among the Democrats, this is causing alarm. Several of them really regret substituting Harris for Biden.